The arrow split the shaft clean in two, a pale shiver of cedar drifting in the late light. For a heartbeat the crowd was silent, as if the sound itself had struck them dumb. Men who had jeered swallowed their laughter. Children gaped, mouths open mid-cheer. A girl's mittened hand clutched her father's sleeve so tightly it wrinkled the worn canvas. On the rail where the patron stood, a woman with a steel thermos forgot to breathe. That single breath would not return to her until much later. But let us not linger too long in that hush. To understand why the silence mattered, we must return to the beginning of the day, when dawn crept pale across a kitchen that smelled of oil and wood. Cole Maddox sat at a table that wobbled on one leg. The old recurved bow stretched across its surface like a relic from another age. He rubbed oil into the limbs with care, his scarred hand steady though his eyes looked far away. Beside the bow lay a cracked glass wristwatch he had never repaired. He had carried it through desert winds, through nights when only stars spoke. It ticked now only in memory, but he kept it near. A blue-dyed feather rested at the corner of the table. His daughter, Juniper, June as he called her, had glued it to the fletching the night before. Her laughter had filled the kitchen, bright against the smell of glue, bright enough to make him smile despite himself. The bow case held dog tags folded neatly in cloth, part as quiet ritual. Before he left the house, he touched the tape he had fixed to the riser. Aim small, love big. The words had been Emily's once. Now, they were his compass. At the registration desk, whispers rose like dry grass crackling. Janitor's bow. Antique. Watch him splinter it. Does he think this is Veterans Day? Cole said nothing. He checked the knock height with the calm of a carpenter setting a nail. Around the grip, he tied a thread of red silk, one his late wife had used when she mended shirts. His daughter stood small beside him. Papers clutched in two hands, offering them to the official with the dignity of a captain delivering orders. On the mezzanine above, Evelyn Marlowe watched without moving. She was the event's patron, her name etched into the scholarship fund's plaque. The thermos in her hand steamed faintly, warming her knuckles. Detachment would have been easier, as it always had been, but something in her refused to turn away. A boy in a jersey too large trembled at the practice bail, his string arm shaking. Cole knelt, quiet voice meant for one pair of ears. If the sight fights you, ignore it. Feel where the string wants to live. He guided the boy's shoulder gently, left his spare glove in the boy's hand. June, solemn as a priestess, offered cocoa to the boy's mother. Small acts, nothing more. Yet Evelyn, watching, felt her throat tighten. What others dismissed as ordinary looked to her like a language the world had forgotten. Quiet leadership without speeches. The bowstring frayed and snapped with sound sharp as breaking bone. For an instant, Cole wasn't in the hall anymore. He was under a too-wide sky, ears ringing, heat-searing. His breath stuttered. Panic pressed close. But June was there, tugging his sleeve. 4 in, 4 out, Daddy. Her mitten against his arm steadied him. He drew breath, squared the room again. Evelyn lifted one hand. Without drama, she summoned an assistant who brought a new string. No pity in her voice, no fuss. Cole threaded it by feel, thumb grazing the blue feather until the world returned to its size. The ritual was restored. No applause marked it, but Evelyn saw. In the upstairs gallery, a board member muttered about bad optics. Evelyn's mouth stayed composed. She wrote a line on the back of the program instead. Build where you weren't believed. She folded it and tucked it away. She had come to manage funds. She was beginning to understand she had come for more. The qualifiers passed in slow hours. Cole refused the glossy compound bows offered him. His arrows grouped tighter each round, not from flash but from steadiness. June whispered distances like prayers. 20 meters, Daddy. 30. 40. The mockers kept their words, but laughter thinned. Mockery, like fire, dies without air. Between ends, June produced a tiny paper crane. Its wings creased crookedly. For luck. She pressed it into his hand. He taped it beside the blue feather. You're my captain, he said. She glowed as if knighted. But then one arrow strayed wide, bearing itself low in the hay. A roar of cruel amusement rose from the fence line. Cole walked to retrieve it. He smoothed the bent shaft with his thumb, as if apology could be pressed back into cedar. Under his breath, he named the friends he had lost, the ones who would have laughed with him first. The arrow remained imperfect. So, did he? Evelyn's throat burned as she watched. Drizzle slicked the field at noon. June offered half her sandwich to a weary-lined judge. Cole repaired another competitor's frayed serving thread. Stayed to watch until the man landed a clean shot. No speeches. Just hands at work. Gossip flowed differently after that. Softer currents. In the semifinal, he faced a favorite, a man with flame-wrapped limbs and too much swagger. "Don't blink, Granddad," the man sneered, but the sting was gone. Cole loosed arrow after arrow, steady as tides. June clapped, fierce and small. Evelyn left the rail and stood beside June, silent, but close enough to share breath. Two women, one child, watching the same man. Trust began there, wordless. Under the bleachers, Cole unfolded a letter he had carried until it was thin as cloth. Emily's script leaned like a shoulder one could rest upon. You don't have to be dazzling. Be steady. Be the ground other people stand on. If you forget, aim small, love big. He slid the letter into his bracer. The word ceased being wound and became compass. When finals began, clouds broke. The targets were drawn farther back than comfort. The scholarship plaque gleamed cold. Cole whispered no dedication aloud, but in his marrow he offered every shot to children who needed gentleness. June pressed her mittened hand to his sleeve, a vow between them. Now we return to the moment where we began. His sight settled. The world narrowed to a thread between his breath and the string. He loosed. The arrow split the shaft already standing, opening it like a seam. The range fell silent as a chapel. The favorite lowered his bow without shame. June's laugh cracked into a sob. Evelyn finally let her breath out. Love did not strike like lightning. It arrived like a door quietly unlatched from within. After the crowd thinned, the boy from practice cradled his small ribbon. Cole knelt, held out the trophy base. "It's heavy," the boy said, surprised and grinning. The favorite passed by, nodding awkward respect. People looked different without their laughter. When the grounds emptied, paper cups and stray ribbons fluttered in the wind. Evelyn approached. In her palm lay the arrow with the blue feather. "You forgot this," she said, but her voice held more. "You weren't seen before, but now you are. Let me buy your captain a cocoa." So the three of them sat on aluminum bleachers, thermos passing between hands. They didn't hurry. Sometimes fingers touched on the same seam of tin. Silence was enough. At last, Cole set the cracked glass watch on the bench. Around it he tied the red silk. "Some targets are far," he said, voice low, as if speaking to one who was gone and the two who remained, "but the right ones wait." The blue feather trembled in the breeze, then settled. If this quiet arrow found you, if steady hands and second chances mean something in your house, walk with us. Subscribe, share, and stay. We'll keep aiming small and loving big, one true shot at a time.